Now, last week I was joined by astrophysicist Brad Tucker from the Australian National University for the launch of Artemis 1, an unmanned capsule on a 25-day mission circumnavigating the moon. It's the first step in a long process towards getting humans back onto the lunar surface. Let's recap from last week and look at that launch again.
Engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This isn't the mission of the 60s and 70s. As groundbreaking as this is the next level.
Terrific stuff. NASA has released new footage from the Orion capsule overnight. Brad Tucker joins me again to talk through how it's all going. Thanks for joining us, Brad. Give us an update of the mission and what we've seen in these latest pictures.
Yeah, look, so far it's been pretty flawless since that launch, 5 days ago now. After it launched, the 10 satellites deployed, the Orion capsule sent on its way to the moon. And as you're seeing here, did it close approach the moon at a height of about 120 kilometers, going around the north side of the moon, as you're seeing the photos here. Because as it's on the backside in time lapse, you start to see essentially the Earth disappear. That's because that far side of the moon is the side that we cannot see or contact with Earth. And that's one of the critical tests. Can it go around the moon, not just on autopilot, but, without a human to kind of babysit there, and then do that very elongated elliptical orbit and that very special orbit these Artemis missions will do. So, it's been an exciting 5 days for everyone to see this and have a human capsule that close to the moon and start setting records. It's actually going to reach its furthest point soon, as we were just seeing there, where it'll be the furthest a human capsule has ever gone in space.
Extraordinary stuff. Give us a timeline, because my understanding is Artemis 2 will have people on a circumnavigation of the moon, and Artemis 3 intends to put people back on the moon. How long till we see those two missions?
That's exactly right. Artemis 1 does everything work. Now, Artemis 2, assuming everything goes smoothly for Artemis 1, and there's still the return, which, they do have to design it or make sure that in the design there's nothing that goes wrong. Artemis 2, they're looking at 2023. Now, with timing, maybe that slips to early 2024. So essentially, we're looking at like a yearish from now. If Artemis 2 goes according to plan, then they're looking at sometime in 2025 landing people on the moon. And then it really also gets interesting, because Artemis 4, which would be late 2026, will actually start really deploying infrastructure up there. In fact, that's when the space station will be deployed. There will be a space station called the Gateway put in orbit around the moon in that 2026-ish timeline. So it's really exciting as we start ramping up. It's not incremental steps in between all of these. It's really huge steps in between all of these, where, it's no people landing on the moon, space stations around the moon, and even more after that.
It's incredible. As you say, people on the moon within about 3 years. The first woman on the moon will be included on that. And you're talking about a space station being the sort of permanent rotation of people at the moon, or is there talk of actually a base on the moon where people rotate through?
So that would be both. That's right. So
wow.
The space station will be able to support about 4 people for a few months, and they're building infrastructure to go on the moon as well. In fact, a company called iSpace, is the private Japanese company, was contracted by NASA to start landing supplies as part of this on the moon. That's going to start happening in 3 weeks. In fact, the first things are being sent in 3 weeks on a SpaceX rocket. This is what's amazing about this, is that there's going to be such a ramp up of activity, and then start looking towards all of the Australian bits. There's a new communication system using lasers to send data that's being built where I worked at Mount Stromlo. That's online in March. There's groups designing food. There will be a rover that's built as part of Artemis 4 that will be an Australian-built rover, only the 5th country to do so as part of that 4th one as well. So this is also what's exciting, not just how much is happening, but how big Australia's going to become a bigger and bigger role.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks for sharing it with us, Brad.
Thanks.
Dr. Brad Tucker there from the Australian National University. So much going to happen over the next few years. This is going to be so exciting for us to watch and plug into, and for our children to see and learn from. And some Aussie's going to get up there at some stage, be the first person to kick a footy on the moon.